I'm Serena Fazan, taking a risk, making a difference, and changing the course of your life. Remarkable stories from people defying the odds. You're listening to On the Record.
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. So happy you could join us. I'm here with one of my favorite people. I haven't made it a secret, Vicky Westra, the founder of Autism Shifts, and I'm so excited to have Kimberly Jackson here from St. Petersburg College. So, ladies, introduce yourself for the people who may not know you.
Okay, well, I'm Vicky Westra, and I'm the founder of Autism Shifts and CEO. And I'm excited to be here today. Thank you so much for having us.
Absolutely. And Kimberly, if you could tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. I'm Kimberly Jackson. I'm the executive director of the Institute for Strategic Policy Solutions. I'm an attorney in the community and just an advocate for families. I have 2 children, and one of my younger daughter has Asperger's syndrome, and Vicki is one of my favorite people too.
Oh my gosh. And can I just tell you, you both are so amazing. And Kimberly is just giving us the highlights of her job. I'm looking over everything she does, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're going to do a podcast just with everything that you're doing, by the way.
Thank you.
But thank you both for being here. And I wanted to talk about a new program that you are launching.
Yes.
Vicki, can you tell us about the Shifter Membership Program and why Kimberly, you think, is already an honorary member?
I know. I'm so excited to be connected with both of you. So we are starting the Shifter program is actually already in a pre-launch right now. We're officially starting it on September 1st. And really it's a program designed to provide specialized training, resources, and connection opportunities for our autism community. When you're a family, a parent like myself, our daughter Gabby was diagnosed at the age of 4, and you're kind of going through the journey. Sometimes it's a very lonely journey. You don't have a lot of resources. You're trying to deal with the day-to-day that's happening. So you might not have an opportunity even to get the training you need, or really even understand autism the way you need to, or connect with others and find out like what's working. What are the things that I can implement in my own home that can help my child, that can help us to lead a better life here as a family. And that's what this is about. Because this is something that we didn't have going through our journey. My husband Pierre and Gabby and I, we kind of had to go and try to figure it out every step of the way. So we feel like if we come together as a community, we can provide so much support, not just Autism Shift to the community, but the community for itself.
Absolutely. And I'm going to get back to why you think Kimberly is already an honorary member. But before we do that, can you tell us about your life and your beautiful daughter, Emerson, who's 14 years old?
Emerson. So, I would say that I share her story, and so many of us share her story. I'm very fortunate. I'm married to my college sweetheart. We've been together 30 years this year. I can't believe it. Thank you. We have a 21-year-old who is attending Spelman College and is a senior.
Your alma mater, I want to mention.
I'm a Spelman graduate. I'm a Johns Hopkins School of International Studies graduate, and I'm a Stetson Community College of Law graduate. So I'm very proud of all my alma maters for anyone listening.
She's a rock star, folks. Yeah, she's a rock star.
But Emerson's journey transformed who I am as a person. As an attorney, I was always engaged in community work, but not in the same way after having her. My empathy kicked into a very large level. Like so many families, I was blessed to figure out that she was pre-diagnosed early, because we had community relationships with the wonderful physicians in our St. Petersburg area and at then All Children's Hospital. But you're literally, if you've met one autistic person, you've met one autistic person. My daughter at the time had tremendous sensory challenges, and if it weren't for community engagement and resources where you're connecting, I can't tell you, she's done the Nutcracker every year for 6 years with the Academy Ballet of Arts. She has done theater at American Stage. She has done, equine therapy and water therapy and cooking lessons. And all this is a support because, someone who's paved the way, like Vicki says, just teach them how to live, right? So I'm very blessed because my daughter just finished 8th grade. She's starting 9th grade. We're going to be going into homeschool for the first time because of COVID. But yeah, I have a very typical kid within the Aspie diaspora, if you can call it that, because I've been very blessed with resources and listening about how to implement those into my life so that we could have, normalcy to the extent you can. Because the truth is, no matter how engaged you are, it is an isolating experience. It just is. It's hard to explain that to people on a day-to-day basis, what judgment looks like for routine things that you do in a daily life, how you're altering your life so that we can be here and actually help other people, having real conversations about the importance of autistic people grow up and they are engaged in the world. And as a community, we have a responsibility to make sure that they're functioning properly and they are contributing to society instead of being a burden on someone on some level. So I probably said too much. But
No, you have not. No, you have not at all. I mean, so
That's
Vicki,
a testimony of why she's a shifter.
that's exactly. So I was going to ask you. So I can easily see,
Yes.
just listening for just these few minutes,
Right.
how she's an honor already, loving it, right?
Yeah.
So how did the two of you meet? What is your story on meeting?
Well, my story is I probably stalked her. At the time, I was the political science chair of St. Petersburg College at our downtown and midtown campus. My students were always interested and intrigued of why I left law for education. I explained to them it's because I wanted to, because of equity, because of the challenge my daughter was having as we transitioned her from year to year and space to space. And so I decided I was just going to educate our students on what autism is on all levels. Like, it is a spectrum, and every child falls on a different level. So initially, the first year, I had her therapist help. A big shout out to Sue Blanchard, who's probably would hate me for saying that, but she was the education leader at St. Petersburg College for autism, for Dr. Irina Agnes, who was my psychologist at the time and now works for USF. And we would just have these annual small pods celebrating autism. And then one day I decided I was going to apply for money and got some money from our school.
Good for you.
And Dr. Mark Duran was our first, he is a scholar at USF, one of a renowned scholar on autism, and he was our first speaker. And then Vicky Westra was our second speaker, who I met from one of our therapists that I had personally for Emerson. When I learned about what she was doing, I was just in awe. Because again, as an autistic mom, you're always looking for, what does the next level look like? You don't mean to do that, but you're just sort of looking like, what does life look like next? And so when she told me what she did, I thought, well, that's exactly what our population needs, because St. Petersburg College, like all colleges, have an autistic population. Whether you know they're autistic or not, they are somewhat on the spectrum. They still have needs. I think our college does a phenomenal job of dealing with accommodations on all levels. But when they transition into a real life, they don't have a parent, advocating for them, not because necessarily a parent's not there. They don't have to listen to us anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And the bottom line, just as moms, whether your children are autistic, not autistic, whatever they're facing, as mothers, as we all know, we would take a bullet for our child. I mean, we would do anything for our children, and we simply want the best for our kids. So Vicki, with your program, and Kimberly, please weigh in on this as you have been, do you feel that the Shifter Membership Program allows parents to, it basically does their homework for them, and you pass with an A+ because you're so good at what you do.
Yeah.
Would you?
Well, I think and Kimberly shared her story, and Kimberly's story was always, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to find, and that's what makes her a shifter, because shifters are advocators. They're going to go out and do something. But we got to remember that a big part of our population is in a place where they're just trying to make it day to day. They don't know where to turn. Sometimes they've lost hope for even what is the future? I don't even see a future. Obviously you heard her, Kimberly's looking for the future. But sometimes there's a whole group of us that don't even have hope for that. And nothing can happen without that. So, part of the process is getting them into our community and helping them to understand autism in an even different way than what they're used to. We're kind of used to seeing autism through, the lens of its challenges, everything that's hard about it. And what we've been able to do through our program, and me as a mom, I've been able to shift that perspective and start looking at the whole diagnosis differently. And when I do, I can see the capabilities, I can see the possibilities for our community. And really, that's the opportunity we have, is to help people within our community see that. As they start to rally around that, then we're going to see more and more happening for our community. You know, an empowered community can change everything. And I think that's where we stand right now. That's what we have the opportunity to do.
You would agree with that, Kimberly?
I would. It shouldn't be so hard to dig for resources. That was the one. I think that because I'm a lawyer, I was a natural advocate, and I didn't know better not to ask the questions. But initially, particularly when it's a new diagnosis, you're sort of in this space where you're very scared. You're fearful of people's judgment and responses. You don't even know where to ask. You know, there are things that, you know, now that I like to say that, you know, autism, you don't like, it's forever. But there are challenges that Emerson had as a 3, 4, 5-year-old that she doesn't have now. So when I look back and I want to help a mother or a family who are dealing with challenges, to say, yeah, there is hope.
Yeah.
But I also had, again, the resources, connections, and friends to say, hey, has to be somebody doing this. Like, who's not doing, well, how do you do the therapy with the dogs? Or how does,
Right.
why wouldn't we put them in a pool? It's quiet, you know, it'll sensory decompress her. So like, but it's small things. Like I remember one of her therapists told me, teach her how to live in the household. It sounded like such a basic thing.
Yeah.
Teach her how to cook. Teach her how to do her laundry, teach her how to clean up after herself, teach her how to do her hair, like activities of daily living. These practical aspects that we naturally teach our other children, our typical children, if you will, because they watch us and are groomed to do it, we just forget they're small fixes. And I would agree with you, you get fixated on what's challenging instead of seeing their gifts, which are outstanding. And their contribution to the workforce is why I really appreciate Vicki, because there are, you know, you always want to say the tech industry, but like Haley Moss, who we interviewed and had a program with for the Institute for Strategic Policy Solutions, she's the first identified attorney with Asperger's syndrome in the state of Florida. She really shared her story of how she
Amazing.
functions
Yes.
and what her parents did to help her get to that level.
Yes.
She also shares, I don't think I'm sharing anything different because she said in the program that I still live with my mother, even though I'm doing this outstanding legal career and I'm still trying to transition. So there are just issues that are, you know, singular to us that we have to sort of navigate, and they're not just practical issues, but employment issues, navigating a healthcare system differently, navigating educational differently, teaching them how to advocate for themselves because they want the same things that all their peers do. Right. So there's just this, I would say, cornucopia of things that you just want someone else who's been down that road to guide you. So I really appreciate that. The only thing I would change, I was just talking to her before we started, is just shift the age a little bit.
Put more in.
So with the Shift Your Membership program, how do people sign up, and explain a little bit more on, and I know you explained it at the beginning, but just a little bit more into detail on how could they benefit from this program. And Kimberly, then I would love for you to weigh in on your thoughts about it.
Yeah, so we've created like 3 different levels, 3 different plans. The first is the free membership, so anyone can go on there and sign up. And we are going to be offering, you know, educational classes, free workshops, information, just emails, podcasts that will hopefully help everyone, you know, to maybe shift their thinking or have a tool or process that they need or make a connection that they need. The second level is an individual membership, and that's either for an individual diagnosed with autism, age 18 and above, or parents and caregivers. And parents and caregivers can have children of any age. So we're just trying to help, you know, actually with parents and caregivers, the earlier you know some of these things, the better off you are, right? So
Absolutely.
If you're already creating the structure like Kimberly mentioned, that's the same thing we did with our daughter. Have them do the dishes, have them do their laundry, teach them how to do everything at home. A lot of parents don't know that, you know, just some basic things that you can do to help your child feel empowered, get ready for the future, know that they can do things. So there's a lot of just simple things that people can adopt a mindset of and create. So that's the individual membership. And then we have the family membership. And the family membership is really the whole family can get involved, right? Parents, caregivers, individuals on the autism spectrum, really siblings, if they wanted to know the information, everybody could really benefit. So basically, it's a learn as you go process. So right now we're doing, we do workshops, we do a month workshop, but this is where you're getting information every week. You could get a training video this week. It could be a topic, understanding how emotions play in, right, to creating the home you want, the environment you want. And then next week, it's a tool or process that you could use. The following week, it's a podcast, or we could be interviewing somebody who's already a shifter. That's why we would like to highlight people that are shifters, right? Because people can see, oh, that's what that looks like. They're advocating. That's what they did with their child at home. But you can learn all these processes, right? So you could start at this learning stage, and you could move to, to evolving, then achieving, then mastery, and then advocating, then being, whether it's formal leadership or informal leadership. When you've shifted your household, when you've shifted your perspective, you're affecting everybody around you. And so that's how we can influence our community. And so all of us play a role in the shift happening, right? Today, the world we look at for autism doesn't look that great, okay? Mm-hmm. Because there's not tons of people with autism living their life on purpose. The way that looks to me is, oh, we don't even have to think about it. Oh, yeah, of course they're going to get a job. That's how we think about it with our typical population, right? They're going to go off and they're going to live their life on purpose, whatever that is. They're going to go to college. They're going to have a family. That's not, as an autism community, a lot of times we don't have hope for those things. We don't think those things can happen. We don't think my child can drive, or that'll never happen for them. So really it starts with us. What do we believe? What do we want to create? What can we create as a community? And again, with vision, all of these things can happen. With vision, our children can go out and work, and businesses can understand, how to create an environment that supports them.
Clearly, Vicki is so passionate about this, and this has been years in the making as she's going through this process. So Kimberly, as you sit here and listen to her vision of this Shifter Membership Program, what are your thoughts?
Well, I share them because, again, I was at a place of acceptance. First, my mother, who's a nurse, said, I don't know what's going on, but I think it's autism. So I received the message from someone I really trusted. And then I spent years in a hospital educating myself, trying to figure out what to do. And I piecemealed all these things to get the information I needed to create my village of support. What she's offering is something that would have been transformational at the time, instead of relying on the goodwill of, well-intended but overburdened either healthcare providers or educators who are just giving you good nuggets from time to time. Vicki's offering a totality of the package. So from her general description as just the family coming in, just from the free resource, this is information that people take years to try to find. It shouldn't be that way, but that's what it is. And then as you shift into the next area, like I said, the only challenge I have is I wish it was earlier, because you do it's exactly what she said. You start thinking about, how is my child going to survive when there's no support? The truth is the educational system provides that umbrella of space. You know that you can send your child somewhere from 9 to 3, and there'll be some level of services supporting your child. And then you do the wraparound services, right? But then they start getting older. The challenges or the differences start becoming more apparent. And people start not being as gracious as they would when everyone's kind of little and silly. And then you realize, oh, this is real. Now what do I do with life? Like, my other child, I said, go get your butt a job, right? Or like, I'm going to practice, taking you driving. And so now you're trying to be mindful of the support that surrounds. What Vicki is saying is that it doesn't have to be that complicated. Everyone has a center of excellence. And when you find that, you will be able to find a meaningful career. Like for my daughter, my husband's a dentist. I'm trying to force the hygienist to teach him, organizational skills. That's my goal that they don't know about. That's my secret goal. I also have befriended the hygiene department in St. Petersburg College. Shout out, she knows me. For that same reason, for educational resources, for the vet tech program. Autistic kids are generally really great with zoning in on one particular aspect. So searching for the good stuff and watching them and seeing what they do well. Her program offers to say, okay, there's going to be some training involved. Like I've represented pro bono families that they get great jobs. They don't keep the jobs. It's not like they're not capable of getting the jobs. They're very brilliant, actually. It's just that from a social perspective, there are social quirks and rules that they don't abide by, which causes them not to keep the job. That's just not a general statement, but my experience.
Right. Yeah.
So what she's offering is definitely going to help that. And then for the parents in general and the family, I think we all have wonderful families. I'm very grateful for the family and support I have. But it's still, and I think you can attest to that, becomes at some point a singular space where like right now I'm having conversations of, okay, I have to do some change in estate planning. Who's going to do this when I get too old or too tired? Who's going to be your support and advocate? So you're trying to weigh, I'm never going to put a ceiling on my daughter, but then I have to be pragmatic about where she is at every year. So it's a constant evaluation.
Assessing.
Absolutely. So let me talk to you about the price point. Now, I know the first tier of the membership is free, you said.
Yes.
But for the other two, how much would that cost a family?
Well, we've priced it really low because we really want everyone to be able to participate in it, not be a hardship. It's $30 a month for the individual plan, and it's $50 a month for the family plan.
That's very reasonable. Kimberly, as a consumer, I'm saying it's reasonable. Do you find that to be reasonable as a consumer?
You have no idea how much an autistic family spends on support. And it's not like the caregivers and the OT and the speech therapists and behavioral therapists. I want to be very careful because I appreciate all of mine. But they're quite expensive. They range from $60 at the low end to $150 an hour for services. And we don't have a lot of people don't have the support from a healthcare perspective to get those services done otherwise. So I would say the average family, if they can, spends between $60,000 to $75,000 a year, or their life is arranged to do that, one way or the other. Right, whether it's time or talent or actual dollars. So I think $30 to $50 is more than reasonable for what you're going to get from the resource.
Yeah, we pretty much packaged up a lot of curriculum, a lot of training, a lot of materials, a lot of things that, we've been at this for over a decade. We've been working with individuals with autism, so we know what works, I'm a parent, so I've applied it, not early on. I didn't know as much as I did, so I did a lot of things not right. But over time, I've learned, hey, these are the things that work. And that's what parents need. They want practical things that they could do, that they could adopt, that work, that can shift their environment at home. Many of them are having a really tough time. They don't live in a place of joy in their own home. And
they don't live in a green
They don't live in the green zone, so we call it the green zone. And, I didn't. I lived, my family and I lived in the red zone. So for so many years until I was like, I can't live in the red zone anymore. I've got to live, I've got to find this, there's got to be another path. And now what we've created is a green zone environment. And so we tell families, you've got to have hope for that. You've got to have hope to have a home that you can come home to, that you can enjoy your child with. Are there challenges? Absolutely. But you know what? There are challenges with all children, right?
Right, absolutely. Definitely.
Parenting is can be challenging at times. It can really challenge us, but it can also bring out the best in us. And I think that's what autism has done for, I know myself and my husband, and I know for Kimberly, I'm sure we could say, hey, this has made us better people. And, and that's at the end of the day, if you're compassionate and loving and unconditional and, and you allow it to really create that within you, then man, there's a lot of benefit of that. And I think a lot more people can allow that to happen.
So Kimberly, and believe me, you're so well-spoken and so passionate. about everything. How can we help Vicki spread her message and get more people involved in the Shifter Membership Program? What would your ideas be?
Well, I'm a big proponent, and I have not achieved this at all yet. So these are just big ideas of reaching deeper into communities of color and English as a second language. I think that everything should be bilingual. I think that when we get to whatever the new normal is, or if we're remaining in a virtual space, that we have access and equity even within this particular issue. Because, from an educational standpoint, it's great that I have access to it. I would love to see people who would not have access. And so that means, to me, partnering with, bar associations that do pro bono work, with medical professionals who do pro bono work, with, I sit on a couple of boards like, the St. Pete Free Clinic, places where people go for everyday needs. And so they would be going for their needs in different ways anyway, and then they would be somehow getting this information from her, and hopefully, all we can do is offer it, right? You can't push back. Also, there are some families who have significant challenges now. Be great. I love to do fundraising. Be great if someone would try to sponsor a family.
Right.
It's not a lot for someone to say, I'm going to donate to Autism Shifts for the specific purpose of giving a membership to a family. Right. It's an easy sell. So things like that to push out the equitable challenge of it, because that's really what I see. I firmly believe that, money makes people comfortable, or situations make people comfortable. But for me, the autistic story, no matter what mom I'm talking to, or what dad I'm talking to, or what sibling I'm talking to, it all falls to the same issues. Yeah. So we are all living the same experience of trying to get from red to green, and sometimes we're up and down that space. Yeah. So that's what I would say, is to broaden its reach, and she's going to need support to broaden that reach.
You certainly have our support for sure. I mean, I would encourage people to share this podcast, to like this podcast, to get it out there. It's very simple. Go to your website. It's autismshifts.org. And then I'm on all platforms. Serena Fazan .media, and the podcast is on the record, so you can find me everything, everywhere. But it's a community effort, right?
Yes,
it's a community effort. It's spreading this message. Everything that you have done, Vicki, is amazing. Your story is amazing. Kimberly, what a pleasure and honor to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
And you've got to come back on the podcast to talk about all the other things that we were talking about before she came into the studio.
It's amazing.
You're doing a lot of exciting things, and I can't thank you both enough for being on.
Well, thank you for having me, and Kimberly, thank you for joining us.
No, I'm happy. It's wonderful to see someone who you have the resources. You really don't have to continue to do all you're doing, but it makes a difference.
Certainly
makes
does.
a difference.
It's people like you that make a difference in the community and in the world.
I know.
And in the world.
We need more people like a shifter.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and we always love your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.